Hey guys, welcome back to the Ennui Talk podcast. No, cunt. Don't do that on my podcast. Welcome back to the Ennui Talk podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Peter Winter, for those who want to know my middle name.
Sammy and Patrick Davis.
I'm here with Sam. We're back on the podcast. It's, a lot of the kids might be going back to school if you're a kiddie. Listen to the podcast.
Fucking Christ. That sounded so fucked. It sounded so weird.
Hey, if anyone's going back to school, have a good time. For me...
I start again.
No, I'm going with it. I've already started. We're going. Sam...
Of all the things to say.
Look, I just want to be supportive of our audience. That's all.
Yeah, it's me, guys. Anyone going back to work?
It's not funny. Stop laughing. I'm keeping it.
We're in the episode now. There's no fucking turning back.
Fucking
hell.
hell.
Man, that's funny. Clip that.
The one thing that you wanted me to do for this episode was not talk about kids, but also tennis.
I just roped you into this last second. I don't know.
No, you did, but it's good. Look,
weird oddball topic.
It's the only good idea you've ever had for the podcast. So we're gonna. You play tennis, and you've actually sent me and I didn't realize this actually exists. At tennis.com.au, it has your tennis profile. And fuck, man, you've had a lot of losses. You have had a lot of losses in your career.
Hey, they're good players. They're pretty good players, the ones that I've played against. They're very good, actually. They're fucking bullshit. Some of them are so good.
What, have you not played a game this year, or is that just...
No, I haven't played. I didn't play in 2021. I didn't play a tournament. I burnt out from tournaments, and then only recently have I, for the first time in like 2 years, or more than that actually, first time in like 3 years, I've become interested in tennis again. So I'm playing a couple tournaments soon. Support me, please. I might send a couple videos in as well to Mr. Matthew to get his support. We need support. We got to win at least one match.
So when you say you got burnt out, were you burnt out from losing all the fucking time? Because that's what it fucking looks like.
Yeah, I'll have you know, dude, in school tennis, I was undefeated for freaking 3 years. 2 years. In a row in winter tennis. No one could beat me for 2 years. So it depends on the level. This is very high level. This is the highest level I ever played at. So you go to 2015 tournaments, and that's where your eyes will probably widen, because I played 14 tournaments in 2015. Every long weekend I played a tournament. Every school holidays I played 3 or 4 tournaments. I was obsessed. And I was actually not that bad back then. But then I got very focused on YouTube. In 2015 I started YouTube, and my focus shifted entirely over to that, and tennis just became a background thing, and I lost interest and I became very shit at it. But I'm back in a tournament very soon where I'll probably get absolutely smacked. But we'll see how we go.
So from what I can see, did you get 2 golds in 2015 and 2 silvers? Is that what I'm...
I think that's like their titles. They're like mini little titles. They're not the smallest of the small in Tennis Australia.
So it was really good to see that you won the 2016 Mornington Junior Classic in June 2016. Good on you, man.
Thanks,
and the
buddy.
2015 Geelong Lawn Junior Development Program. Is that even a tournament? That sounds like a program.
Oh, it was a tournament. Yeah, it was a tournament.
Doesn't say tournament, so I don't believe you. So your overall record. So for people who obviously cannot see this, he's played 89 matches. That's a lot of tennis. 89.
Yeah. Fuck, drop my phone. Yeah, 89 matches is a lot.
And you've won 34 of those and lost 55. So when you've mentioned to me in the past that you've played tennis, I was expecting you to be a good player. Like, you would just mention on the podcast, like, oh, hey, I played tennis, if you weren't good.
Oh, man, I'm good.
So do you know maths? Not sure if you know about it. If you go 34 over 89, that is a win rate of 0.39. So can't.
Do you know how good these players are?
They're kids.
Do you know they're not?
It's
ages from it. It's literally 18 and up. There's no kids. The junior ones, that was when I was playing fellow juniors under the age of 18 when I was younger. Did you just look at your watch? Am I boring you?
No, I got a notification. Sam's been a shit cunt on the podcast. Thinks she's good at tennis.
No, it was good times.
I don't see Roger Federer here or Lleyton Hewitt. So
Fucking Lleyton Hewitt, yeah.
He's good. He's married to the hottest woman in the world, Beck Cartwright, formerly a star of Home and Away.
Amazing. I'm so impressed.
We should get Lleyton Hewitt on the podcast.
No, we shouldn't. He'd be the worst guest you ever had.
Do you know what's funny? Every time any in real life, I'll say, "Have you really?"
Yeah, keep going though. I'll tell you that in a sec.
Anytime somebody sees or something funny happens with somebody, somebody in real life will say, "Hey, you should get him on the podcast." And I'm like, this would not be a good podcast guest, at all. None of them. Did you see Paul Gallen get beaten win that boxing match on the TV the other day? Oh yeah, it was pretty. I didn't watch it. I heard it was good. And they'll go, yeah, you should get Paul Gallen on the podcast. Name anybody who listens to this podcast who knows who Paul Gallen is. A former rugby league star who does boxing. He's the Jake Paul of Australian boxing.
Yeah, he seems like a Nimrod.
That's why you need to taste the fights, and therefore they're like, oh yeah, let's make some cash off this motherfucker. Anyway, enough of the Australian references there. What were we going to say about
more Australian references? I was at the Australian Open qualifying in Australia, and an Australian tennis player who used to be formerly world number one called Lleyton Hewitt. He was watching all the qualifying matches, and because Lleyton and I are very interested in tennis, and we follow the Aussies very closely, I knew exactly what scheduling I had and which matches to go to and which order because of what the scores were in the Australian Open app. So when one match finished, I went straight to the one that was closest to finishing so I could see every single Australian player and I wouldn't miss anyone. And Lleyton did the same thing. And coincidentally, 4 matches in a row, Lleyton and I would walk over to the next match at the exact same time. So he would death stare me as if to say, you're fucking following me, mate. Piss off. And I'm literally got the phone out at the same time he does. I'm just looking at the matches. One of the funniest things was when this Australian player who lost a lot of weight and who just didn't train for a year, a guy that Lleyton was mentoring for years, he just stopped giving a shit about tennis. He lost his first qualifying match and Lleyton just went this and walked off from the match straight after he lost. And I was watching that and all the people watching were like, oh shit. And it was funny. I just think the guy's a dickhead, to be honest with you. I used to idolize him as a kid. I think he's an arrogant tosser. He's literally destroying tennis, but you don't follow tennis. I don't want to go into details, but he's destroying Australian Davis Cup tennis as we know it. But anyway, look, he picks the worst players.
If the Tiny Meat Gang podcast with Noel Miller and Cody Coe can spend 20 minutes discussing Formula One racing, I think we can spend a bit of time discussing Lleyton Hewitt and tennis.
Thanks, buddy. I mean, he's a good player.
Is he? Yeah, he was a good player.
He's interesting. He's very fighter in every match. Never gave up. I'm not a fan of the bloke, to tell you the truth. I think he's Kyrgios. Now that's a fucking bloke, Nick Kyrgios. Mate, he's a roller coaster. I've been to 2 of his matches, and it's like it literally in Hisense Arena. The noise is so loud, and you feel like you're just on a roller coaster ride. Like 1 minute he's just getting so mad, like screaming at fans. And the next minute he's hitting a massive winner and going, yeah, and everyone's going, yeah. It's awesome.
Tennis is an interesting sport to watch. I've never really watched much tennis. I used to hate watching cricket specifically.
Yes, cricket sucks.
I was a rugby league boy when I was a kid watching that. But that got overtaken by the best sport in the entire world, professional wrestling, at a young age. Watching.
Is it a sport?
No, it's sports entertainment. I love watching the Japanese stuff though, because they have much more of they call it the strong style. So it's very different. Like, for example, there was a wrestler recently called Dragon Lee. When I say recently, it was like a year ago. And he was wrestling, I can't remember his name. It's Japanese. It's fucking hard to pronounce. But he did I think he did a half Nelson suplex. Wrestling reference, here we go. Half Nelson is, so like a full Nelson is both arms round the shoulders behind the neck. So you did a half Nelson and then like around the waist. And I believe that's what it was. Half Nelson over his head, spiked Dragon Lee on his head, broke his neck.
Shit.
He was out for like a year. But that's the style that they do. Like that's
my mate did that to me in the pool yesterday.
Really?
But yeah.
Are you comparing yourself to one of the greatest cruiserweights, junior heavyweights in the world, Dragon Lee.
No, the mate did that to me. I was just a passenger of that particular move.
I've done that too. I love grabbing people around the waist and throwing them in the pool over my head. That sounded really bad, didn't it? I've said worse things in this podcast before.
Just recently.
I love throwing people in the pool. It's really good to see people go no and then fall in the pool. That's my interesting. That's my response.
That kid just pushed everyone in the pool, and then they drowned.
God, I've said a lot of bad things in this podcast already. But to sum things up, you were a good tennis player.
Thanks, buddy.
But so many people are better than you. It's all right.
Interesting experiences playing tennis. I've had some journeys. I won a qualifying match in the level below ITF, which is professional. When I was 15, I won a qualifying match. So I'll stand by that one. That was when I was training as hard as I possibly was in my life. So I'll take that one. But everything else is varying success. Let's just call it that.
Are there groupies in tennis?
Oh yeah, people have their teams, and most of them are toxic as AF. Most of them are very toxic. I want to get a team together for my next tournament, but I doubt I will, because who wants to go to a tennis tournament and watch tennis all day? But you know, they're usually really toxic. I've had teams that are like clapping incredibly loud when I hit a double fault. I make a mistake, and I just want to die. You know, because they've just got this massive group behind them. There's actually once a match where this kid it wasn't even in a proper tournament. This kid had a huge team of people. It was sort of about 15 people clapping every point he won. And he was up 5-2 on me, and he's like 4 years younger than me. And I was like, oh, what the fuck have I done? Like, I'm going to lose to a 10-year-old, and I'm like, I should be winning this. I won every game from 5-2 down.
Fuck. And
won the match. And it's a good feeling when you can silence a freaking crowd. You can silence the crowd after they've just been chewing at your ear for like a good 30 minutes, and then you come back and win. But I don't know, just a little experience, a little tidbit.
See, when I played sport, I played rugby. I played rugby league for ages, and then soccer. And soccer, I was like all right at, but not the best. But when I played rugby league, our team, we must have been the Scone Thoroughbreds. That's what it would have been. For years and years, we never won a game. We won one game when my dad was coach for a bit. And then the year I left, when I was like 12, 13, they started winning like every game. And I don't know if that's a coincidence. Raval was just a shit player.
Did you score tries? Did you ever score a try?
Maybe once over my like 6 years.
Was it a good feeling? You don't remember?
Yeah, I don't remember like at all.
Doesn't stand out.
No. So my dad, that's the thing. Like I loved playing rugby league, but I think it was I don't think it was my thing, because my dad played for years and years. Like he was that good that back in the however old he is, like the 60s or the early 70s, he was so good that he played in Sydney, and they had two teams, and the winning team was like spread throughout the Sydney clubs, and his team lost. He was a hooker, and his opposite hooker was Peter Sterling, who is now was a legend for Parramatta Eels, captained them for years and years. He's one of the main commentators now in the NRL. So that was the opposition he was going up against. And my dad got sick and never really achieved his dream. And that's sad.
That sucks.
It does.
That is shit. That's very sad with sports, and they get injured and they never get to do it. Yeah.
So it's actually funny with professional wrestling, with the WWE. One thing that they do at their performance center now, in the last 5, 6, 7 years, they have life classes, life after wrestling, because that professional wrestling and sport specifically, you get to an age where your body just is not as good as it used to be. Yeah. Obviously in wrestling they protect their body a lot more. It's in the 80s and 90s and that, it was just yep, chair shots, all this fucking bullshit, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you have a concussion, you won't be able to wrestle for weeks and weeks and weeks. Yeah. But it's all about life after. Do you want to be a producer? Do you want to be a commentator? Do you want to get into the training? Do you want to be an agent? He puts together the matches. the same thing in sport. Like, there's going to be a time where your body just, I don't know. Like, would you want to be one of those players that plays for years and years and years past your prime, or would you rather like retire at the top of your game and then move into like a coaching, advisor, commentary, move out of the industry completely? It's an interesting concept.
I'm more of a John Farnham sort of dude. I like have about 30 retirements and then have about 30 comebacks. No, I mean I'm a very casual player, so I'll play a couple tournaments and then not play for another 2 years, and then play a couple more tournaments and then not play for a couple years. I'm not definitive. Retired, never playing again. Having said that, I'd love to play my last ever match in the highest tournament possible against my hitting partner Nick, and it'd be like this epic contest between two good mates, and that's my last match I ever played. I'd love that, but I don't know. I really don't know. It's because you know me, ADHD. I switch from interest to interest all the time. I'll be back to YouTube, and then I'll be back to something else, and be back to tennis, and it's just constantly ridiculous. So I don't know. It's summer. It's obviously hot weather summer. I'm into cliff jumping right now. I'm into tennis. Another thing, cliff jumping, amazing. Definitely, if you come down here, Matthew Winter, definitely recommend going for some cliff jumping.
I'll cry, but we'll do it.
It depends. I don't know. I like tennis, but we'll see.
There was one of the biggest wrestlers. There's a wrestling topic, but it's Ric Flair,
keep going.
The Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Woo, been wrestling since like the 70s. Was one of the best of all time. And in 2008, there was a storyline. 2007, 2008, there was a storyline where if Rick lost and the next time Rick lost a match, he would retire and never wrestle again. And it went for like probably a year, and then he wrestled against Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, at WrestleMania, the biggest event. And what it was the last moment is Ric Flair on the mat. He's slowly getting up. Shawn Michaels, so much emotion in his face. He goes, "I'm sorry, I love you." Kicks, super kick underneath the chin, big kick, pins in 1, 2, 3. Such a dramatic moment. One of my favorites. He left WWE like months later, and he spent all his money. So he wrestled for another company. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. You're just gonna go back on your retirement, and it just it's like after that, it's just like, you create this moment. Even it's sports entertainment. That's what it is. But like you create this moment, and it's like stupid.
Farewell tour, yeah, right. That's like Lleyton Hewitt. Let me just do my farewell tour and then play doubles for another 4 years. Also, Davis Cup. If we win this next match, then I'm playing the last match after my farewell retirement match, like a month earlier.
Stupid. God. I feel like with our niche tennis and wrestling references, we're just losing the audience right now.
No, we're not. No, they work. There has to be some sports fans out there.
Somebody's got their phone right now.
I've got this cap for a reason today.
They've got their phone in their hands and they're going, if they don't stop talking about wrestling and tennis right now, I'm skipping. And they'll start listening to like the Tiny Meat Gang podcast. I don't know why I mention that one all the time. It's because it's one of my favorites right now.
I hate that one.
Why? It's so funny.
Boring. Bores me to tears.
Really? Because I really enjoy
those American ones bore me to tears because I'm not American. I don't like listening to the sound of an American's voice for an hour. So
it's interesting. What makes us a good podcast? Like it's hard to sort of like, I don't know. Like I think we have some really good conversations sometimes, and then I also think it's like sometimes just the banter is funny. Do you know what I mean? Like banter's funny. Like
I like a bit of banter.
I love the bit of banter with like me and Ben. We've had some good banter. Absolutely. And then there's like some other episodes. Some fuck the burger banter. Fuck the burger. I don't know. Like I think it's. And as I said before, we've mentioned before like about the guests, like having some good guests on. I've actually got like I wrote down the guests I want for 2022, and there's 4 big guests from. Actually, technically 5 from like different avenues that I want to get. It's not Emp Lemon.
No.
Who watches Emp Lemon these days? No, I do. I watch all his videos. So I've got 4. You know what? I've got the 5, and they're from like different like parts of my interests, I guess. So we've got Mr. Beast. I'd really love to get Mr. Beast on.
Holy
I know that's like
shit,
one
we're
of the
shooting
biggest
high.
ones.
Whoa,
But
okay.
like,
I didn't know. I thought you'd be shooting high, but that's freaking shooting high.
That's probably my highest one. But I know he's huge, but like he's a guest that I've always really wanted to have on. Like, did I show you he was on Colin and Samir's podcast, and it was like a 2-hour long podcast talking about his whole journey and his strategy and all that sort of stuff. And it was just so interesting. I'd love to have him on. I'd love to have Gary V on. As much as the whole hustle culture thing really gets to me, I'd love to have a conversation with him about, like, you know, the content that he puts out and how it influences people. Like, you know, it's ruined a lot of people. They're like, oh, you need to work 24/7 to get where you want to go. But I think there's parts of his, it's like with, you know, he's putting out short content.
Yeah.
And like he does like long form content as well, but like he takes snippets of what people say and you think that's their message. And then when you listen to the whole message, it's like, well, like he's saying this, but he clarifies with this, but you don't hear the clarification. Does that make any sense whatsoever? I think it does.
Yeah, it does. I've never really been partial to those channels who just they're just the dudes who like, let me just give you 100 little bits of advice. Like it's like, but I just want to give you advice sort of thing.
See, the thing was, during my prime Gary V years, it was watching a lot of his long form talks where it was like pretty much but a lot of it was like he would talk about his life for like 10 minutes and then he'd do a Q&A and nobody else did that. Like he would actually like answer real life questions from people. And also his daily vlog of him running his company, he did it like 5 days a week, 6 days a week for like 3 years straight. And he had to go like film him every single day. D-Rock was his name. Shout out to D-Rock. But I'd love to discuss somebody who's like come up from like nothing into like this in the business space, but also like the media space at the same time. And he does a lot of NFT stuff, and I'd love to like learn more about NFTs.
NFTs, man.
I have Cody Co. I'd really love to get Cody Co on because I feel like that he is one of the best balances of podcasting, YouTube videos, and also doing like traditional projects. Like, and he's doing music as well with Tiny Meat Gang. And he's doing projects with like TV channels and streaming service. Like he's working on projects like that as well.
Yeah. I like Cody. Yeah.
Have you seen their podcast set like recently since they redid it?
No, I watch a lot of his videos. I don't watch his podcast.
Have a look at one point because their podcast set is fucking like mint. The recent episodes have been like really, really good in their new set.
Couples React's my only probably thing I watch from him. I reckon
really?
That's a really good series. Yeah. Couples
React. Just think that his girlfriend is hot.
No, that's not really where I was going with that. I think it's entertaining watching them react to Moment of Truth and all those reality TV shows.
Oh, Moment of Truth. Fucking hell.
That was great.
Crazy. That was great, actually. And I've got Hasbulla. You know, little Russian guy?
Nope.
Google Hasbulla. Hasbulla. I'm going to get him up on my phone.
That's exactly how I was going to...
I'm gonna get oh,
wow. Then nothing comes up.
Hasbulla. Hasbulla.
Is it a channel?
No, it's this guy. I'll show you on the screen right now.
Oh, my God.
Have you seen that guy?
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
You want this guy on?
Yeah, he's like, here's a picture of him with one of the UFC championships. See
Why?
That? How good's that? Look at him. He's so cute.
Can he speak English?
Do you know, I think he speaks a little bit, but if he doesn't, I want him on anyway. You know, he's like 19 years old. He has a growth hormone deficiency. So he's like a dwarf. Yeah. He's not actually a child. I don't know. I just thought...
Jesus Christ.
I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Fascinating guest. I think he should be able to speak English, surely.
And if not, I'll get a Russian translator. Done. I can afford that. There was the other one is, and this is a very much out of left field.
Yeah.
Lleyton Comerford, and Lleyton Comerford is actually he's a Melbourne boy, and he founded Unified. Unified was one of my it started as like just the one label. It was UNFD, and he would like release the music for a bunch of bands like Amity Affliction. Why can I not think off the top of my head what other bands are signed to Unified? Because I can't off the top of my head whatsoever. North Lane, Ocean Grove, Hellions, Architects, all of these like heavier sort of bands, blah, blah, blah. And he started a record label from his bedroom. And now he's grown it into the Unified Music Group, which has several different labels. 1-2, which is the hip-hop label, NLV Records, Exist Records. There's a fuckload of other ones. They've got a distribution deal with Sony. He's got offices in Melbourne, Sydney, London, and LA. They had their music festival, 2 of them now, actually. They also have an artist management division. And this is just a guy who was at uni and he decided to release a band's music as their label, and now he's grown it into this huge company.
It's a good effort.
It is a good effort. And this is like just a
impressive
guy from Melbourne. And it's just, because that's what I want to do for Ennui. That's what I want to do for Ennui. Like, I don't know if we've discussed it, but I don't want it to just be the YouTube channel and the podcast and all that sort of stuff. Like, I want to get into films, TV, record label, merchandise, like building a brand in different avenues. I've always wanted to do that. I don't know, web games,
web games,
beef jerky,
beef jerky,
coffee.
Hamburger?
I wanted no hamburger, anything but hamburger. But like, yeah, I'd really like to get into like different avenues in media and in like actual products as well. I've always wanted to have a cafe chain called Cafe Ennui, and people would come down to the cafe and like I could come in and do like, hey, we're at every single Cafe Ennui in the country. We're doing a live podcast tour. It's me and Sam, and we're gonna answer questions from the crowd, and we'll do like,
everyone just leaves.
They wouldn't leave.
It reminds me of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where Carlton's like telling everyone that to stay they have to order another thing on the menu. He's got a microphone. Everyone just fucking slowly leaves.
That's fucked. Would you do a live podcast tour with me?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Go around, just sit down on a mic, just talk to the crowd, meet some fans.
I would love a roving podcast. I've done a few of those. They're great.
What's a roving podcast?
You literally drive in everywhere. You're going to different places. You're going cliff jumping, and the podcast just continues the whole time. And it's like on the podcast, all this shit's happening. You just have a camera mounted, and you go. Like, I'd love to do a roving podcast. It could be on anyone's channel where we go to the Blair Gowrie cliff jump spot, and like we're hyping you up for it, and then we climb to the top of the rock, and you've got to jump. And it's like, it's all on the podcast. I love that. And we use a GoPro camera for the whole thing. So we're literally doing the jump included of you entering the water and shit. That'd be crazy.
That would be good, actually. I love that idea, actually. That's good. It's a good idea.
We'll see how we go. That'd be very mad. I'd like that.
I've always wanted to... have I ever told you that I've wanted to get into stand-up and like actually do... I think I've like mentioned as a joke. Yeah, I've always wanted to do stand-up. Like I'd love to get to the point where I could perform like regularly and like work on bits. That's what I sort of do the podcast for. Like these last 2 episodes we've recorded, there's no like bits that I've used. But I like have a whole document, like all these bits that I want to go through. And like, they might be bits, but I want to turn some of them into like actual jokes. Which like, let me just, and I've gone through a few, like, one of my favorite bits on one of the recent podcasts like the one where I call out, was it Al-Qaeda that I called out for like, I'm like, hey guys, come on, like think about it.
I like that.
Very, very hypocritical. I can't remember what it was, to be honest. And there's like stories and that I'd love to tell and like turn them into like podcast bits, stand-up bits, like the time I kissed a girl and she got cancer soon after. And then all the kids in my year said that, hey, you gave that girl leukemia by kissing her.
What?
Like, no, I didn't.
Are you serious? This is a real story.
Yeah, it was in year 2.
Dude, that's fucked up. I think I vaguely remember you telling me this, actually.
Yeah,
now that I think of it.
I remember I told my boss once that like the first girl I ever kissed got leukemia, and I think I gave it to her, and he cracked up laughing. It's a good bit. Like if you could mold that into a joke, like
I don't.
you can mold anything into a joke,
Dude, man.
It's a
wowzers.
You can mold anything into a joke, I think.
Oh no, my life. That just is a joke.
Have you? You know what? Here's something that I've experienced very much recently.
Yeah.
Talking to somebody like on Messenger or Snapchat or something.
Yeah.
And they go, "Oh, you should have me on the podcast, or I should be a comedian like you." And I'm like, "No, I don't." For one, I'm still not the funniest person in the world. Like I'm still like quite humorous, but I'm definitely not comedian level yet. When people say like, "Oh yeah, I'm pretty funny. I should come on your podcast." Don't do that, please.
Like it ruins the flow of the conversation when they're like they want something out of you, type thing. Yeah. I've had that a fair few times. Yeah,
and also cringe. It's actually cringe like a lot. Like don't ask.
No, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I've had that a few times. I've had that. Yeah, when someone's trying to get something out of you, or that they want something from you, and it's like you realize that they were kind of buttering you up a little bit. Yeah. Like, it could seem like I was essentially doing that to you in a way, but I never wanted to ask. I just wanted to chat. I didn't want to ever ask, "Oh, can I come on the podcast?" I think, what does it remind me of? It's like, I think everyone wants to be on a podcast. Like I saw a dude recently who went on a podcast, like a worst podcast ever. And it reminded me a bit of myself because it's like, the first podcast I was ever on was when I was in like year 12, and it was the worst setup podcast. It was like, I mean, very nice blokes that ran the podcast, but it was like, it was through Google Hangouts, and there was like constant like audio glitches. No one had a mic. One person's audio, the other person's a mic, or they have like a really bad DP. And it was like the most awkward thing. One dude's eating his dinner while the podcast is going on. I was like, okay, all right, I guess this is a thing. And it's like, everyone wants to be in a podcast. I've noticed that everyone like badly wants to be on one. And when you're a host, like it's inevitable the conversation's going to shift to. So, when am I coming on?
Oh, I'm actually cringe every time. That actually reminds me of a clip that I found. Someone sent me a TikTok, and I'll just try and find it, and I'll play the audio into my mic, okay? Because it would get you a good feel.
I had to mention me though, because that would have sounded like a massive hypocrite if I just like all these people let me be on a podcast.
Look, I've had people, like, that's the thing. You were never really like, "Hey, get me on your podcast," blah, blah, blah. It was more like, "Hey, I enjoyed talking to you." I think I asked you to be, but I can't remember
you did.
And it was like, I want to talk to creators, but not just about creator things. And it's good if they're small and all this mumbo jumbo. And now look at us. We're good pals, and you're a co-host on the podcast. And I think it's better that way, that we've actually, here's something before I show you what I'm going to show. Do you think I think we've had this conversation. I think people don't like guests a lot. I think people would rather just like have the same two people on the podcast all the time.
I rate that. That's my podcast. It's never had a guest. It's fair enough.
But yours is shit. It's okay.
The Roast podcast. Fucking brilliant.
No, it's actually right. It's not that bad. It's not. That's a thing. Like I think everybody wants to start a podcast, and that reminds me. So there's this clip. Let me just play it out loud, so you'll be able to hear it. It's from a TikTok. It goes to like 40 seconds. Okay, so it's a little bit long. Okay.
Ashamed that I'm the first one to have to make this video, but these cunts are fucked. The most boring, inane, small talk conversations, and people think it's the pinnacle of comedy. The content literally is like, "Oh, you know what? You know what music's fucking actually real good? Hilltop Hoods." What the fuck? Or like, "Oh, I tried anal with my girlfriend on the weekend." We don't care. Or like arguing about Great Northerns. The content is fucking terrible. Anyway.
It's so right though, and in the video it has like screenshots of like all these different like podcasts that have like TikTok clip accounts, and he's fucking right. That's all they fucking talk about. But are we any better? When you really think about it, are we any better?
Have we mentioned arguing about Great Northerns or talking about fucking
Not
giving
not
anal?
yet.
Receiving anal?
Not yet. Oh yeah, I'd completely off topic. I had anal with my girlfriend the other weekend.
Oh my
no.
fucking god. Not
I'm
that
not-
bit. We're not doing the bit.
No. Oh, I think what comes off my feed a lot on TikTok right now? It's clips from podcasts with girls talking about like how a man should pleasure you.
Yeah, I've been getting those.
Is it telling us something?
Yeah, Google's somehow or the app somehow tapped into our actual lives and it's recommending us this shit.
Look, they want us to get better. The women have complained, and the women have complained. What women?
Jeez, fucking getting... Yeah, dude, I'm going to cry. Holy shit.
To
This is
people
sad as fuck.
to people who are watching, do you like this podcast set up a bit better? It's got the same two pictures. I've got lights everywhere. You can see the table now.
Give us money.
It's a nice little angle. I've got the...
Oh.
You actually do need money.
Do that
We need,
again. Do that gesture again.
For those who aren't watching, I'm just doing a wanking gesture in front of the camera. I was pointing to the cameras on like a little tripod.
I'll do this gesture. It's me picking up a burger and biting into it.
Does it look like I'm laughing, Samuel?
Sorry. Continue whatever it is.
The other day we were talking
Saboteur.
we were talking about Frankie Muniz for some reason. I can't remember why we were talking about Frankie Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle.
His memory.
Fuck, he's ugly. He's grown into a very ugly man. Like a balding...
Ease off Frankie Muniz, man. That kid, he was an agent. He was a Cody. He was a Banks. He was Agent Cody Banks.
He was way better in Malcolm in the Middle than any other show.
Bro, Agent Cody Banks is the shit. He had the electric snowboard. Man, that was awesome.
Do you remember... there was a movie with Frankie Muniz and Amanda Bynes.
Yeah. Big Fat Liar. I've reviewed it on my YouTube
Big Fat
channel.
Liar. You have too. Big Fat Liar was such a good movie. I remember. And like the guy,
as a kid.
the man who like steals his script and turns into
Paul
the movie.
Giamatti's so
Yes.
underrated. Yeah, he's great.
Ooh,
That was one of my
beautiful.
biggest inspirations as a kid, Big Fat Liar. That was one of my all-time biggest. Every time I watched that movie, I wanted to come up with a new idea for something. Because the kid, he's so shit in school, he's struggling, he doesn't want to do it, and then all of a sudden he writes a script for a freaking massive Hollywood movie out of nowhere. And I thought that was so awesome as a kid. I was like, this is lit. And it was very relatable. I know, just was. And Amanda Bynes, what the fuck happened to her?
She has become... Okay, who's worse off now? Amanda Bynes or Frankie Muniz?
I was always Amanda Bynes.
No. Have you seen Frankie Muniz's fucking shocker haircut?
Mate,
Look, I know Amanda Bynes has made a lot of mistakes.
Is a head
but
on
I
two
think
shoulders. Amanda Bynes
that
ain't.
Frankie burnt for... No.
Frankie
She's a
Bynes.
head on two Frankie... Look, same thing.
Frankie Bynes Muniz.
Oh, good movie though. Absolutely good movie. There was something I was
Great
going to talk
movie.
about after that, but now I can think. Oh, that's what it was. I was watching part of the Frankie Muniz interview with Steve-O.
I watched that whole thing as well, by the way.
The Bryan Cranston thing, where he was talking about like he still like keeps in contact. Like every 2 weeks, he'll hear from Bryan Cranston.
Really?
That's crazy.
When I say I watched that whole thing, I watched the whole 10-minute clip, so I didn't hear about this bit.
I was going to say like, can't you watch the whole
Really?
thing? But yeah, like every 2
Really?
weeks.
Bryan Cranston's always been a legend, though. He's a great bloke. That's why he's excelled in acting so long.
Isn't it funny how it was like, because everybody saw that, because he was like a very, very good comedic actor in Mac in the Middle.
Yeah.
But he showed a lot of depth, like with his character.
Yeah.
And like his emotion and that. And I remember people saying like, he is going to be a great like dramatic actor in the future. Because there's a lot of people who can
Really?
show that like
Before.
emotion.
Yeah. Wow. And
Same
then-
thing with John C. Reilly. Like he was,
Yeah.
but the other way around. Like he was such a great dramatic actor in like I think even like as early as the 80s. I have a feeling. I have a feeling it was like he's
John
been
C. Reilly in
acting-
the 80s?
I have a feeling that he's been.
John C. Reilly, I'd relate him to like, sort of Jeff Daniels type, like bit of a jack of all trades. Like he can play any kind of character, sort of thing. Like he can play the dumbest, stupidest character, but he can do a serious role. He's actually been in some serious movies that are really little known. The Hours is one of them. Jeff Daniels is also one of my faves. He's a great guy, great actor. You watch him in Dumb and Dumber and you think, who is this clown? And then if you don't know his movies, and then you watch him in other stuff and he's brilliant.
So John C. Reilly's first movie was 1988.
What?
And then can you believe that, nearly 20 years later? 20 years later exactly, he was in Step Brothers playing Dale.
Dale
can you believe that?
China. Dale has a man China.
But that's crazy how he's gone from
crazy. That is
and now
crazy.
he plays Wreck-It Ralph in the Wreck-It Ralph movies.
It's a good fit.
I feel like there's a lot of people, like somebody actually, I can't remember who it was exactly. It might have been Adam Sandler, it might not have been. But they act in like all these big movies so then they can make enough money to like actually do roles they want to do.
Maybe not Adam Sandler. But.
Not Adam Sandler. There was actually, no, who was it? He's the guy from, have you seen Silicon Valley, the show?
No. I think I'll know the actor when Silicon
Valley. If I go to the shows through Silicon Valley.
Speaking of Alan Sandler.
Oh, no, TJ Miller.
Oh, yeah.
You don't like TJ Miller?
Not really. I'm not a
Why?
fan,
He's good. He's really
Are
good.
you serious? This guy's a douche.
No, he's a good actor. I really like him. Was in a movie. What was it? What movie was it?
What the fuck is this hair doing?
I can't remember what it was. He was in a movie, and that he was filming called. It was ages ago. It was like it was the reboot of something. I can't remember what it was the reboot of, and I cannot think of what it was off the top of my head. But he had to like travel to New Zealand for it, and he told the whole story about like he nearly died. Yogi Bear, that's right. He was filming Yogi Bear in like New Zealand. Yogi Bear, TJ Miller podcast.
2010 film.
He nearly died basically. I can't remember the exact story, but he was on this podcast called You Made It Weird with comedian. You Made It Weird. Why can I never remember the name?
Pretty
of this
bad film.
podcast?
4.6 out of 10 and 12% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It was never going to be good. Pete Holmes. Have you heard of the comedian Pete Holmes at all?
No.
He's a good comedian. But he has this podcast called You Made It Weird, and he used to have like all these comedians on for years and years and years. Started like years ago, like 2014, something like that. Like he's had Kumail Nanjiani on there, the Indian guy from many, many different movies. He's in The Big Sick. Have you seen The Big Sick? I think it's The Big Sick. And like his girlfriend like dies of cancer.
Anything.
You ever
Spoiler alert.
He's with his girlfriend. Him and his girlfriend wrote that movie. Blah blah blah. Anyway,
in real life or
him and his girlfriend wrote the movie and play.
His girlfriend died of cancer in real life?
No, we didn't have cancer in real life.
Oh, phew.
Anyway,
I said spoiler alert.
Very much.
That would have been bad.
Very much a off tangent there. TJ Miller was in Yogi Bear to make heaps of money so he could do his own projects and be in other movies and be a stand-up comedian.
Like the Emoji Movie.
That's what I was trying to get at. Do you know what I mean? Like they do these big roles and they can do like whatever the fuck else they want to.
Which is the big role.
Yes. Look.
Okay.
But you know what I mean? Like
when that movie failed, he went on a rant and he went on a crazy rant about it, saying everyone's lying and shit.
Did he? TJ Miller?
Yeah, he did, yeah. It's really fucked.
I haven't heard of that. I've heard of the sexual misconduct issues, but
why'd you say TJ Miller was good? Fuck this idiot.
He's really good in Silicon Valley.
Oh, okay.
He's a good actor.
His voice, like even just his voice, like I can hear the punchable face, and then you look at the face and you're like, oh, okay.
He's good. Have you seen the Asian guy from Silicon Valley?
No.
He's a good comedian. Silicon Valley. I can't believe I'm doing this on the fucking podcast. But but his
I was
name
gonna
is.
I was gonna suggest, by the way, just briefly, a film for one day, potentially reviewing. I don't know if you've seen it. 51st Dates. It's the only good Adam Sandler movie. One of the only good
I've
ones.
seen it like ages ago. I think like a long, long time ago.
Watch it again. 51st Dates is a really good movie.
I will actually. Jimmy O Yang is his name, by the way.
Jimmy, yeah, I know Jimmy O Yang. Yeah.
He did I think he was doing stand up or just on a podcast or something, and he was talking about like how he's like, you know, he was a comedian, but he was getting into like TV and film, and his dad was like not really proud of him, and he's like, oh, I could do that. He's like, Dad, no, you can't.
Was this the awkward thing with his dad in the hall, and everyone's like congratulating him? The dad's like, it wasn't that good.
No, it was not that story. I don't think.
Sorry, I watched that on the Joe Rogan podcast with Jimmy O Yang.
I think it was the story of his dad's like, oh, I could do that, and then his dad started auditioning for roles in China, and his dad got like on one of the biggest like sitcoms or the biggest dramatic shows in the country, and like he's this like huge star now.
Are you serious?
Yeah, his dad, Oyang's father, Richard, later signed with the same talent agency as his son, and has since appeared in several films. He actually played his son's character's father in the movie Patriots Day, which has is that Mark Wahlberg? It looks like Mark Wahlberg. It's about the Boston bombings. Yeah, it has Mark Wahlberg and Kevin Bacon.
And Kevin Bacon.
And J.K. Simmons. Before we finish up, Whiplash, fucking good movie.
I need to see that.
J.K. Simmons is... I remember watching him in Law & Order. He was like one of the chiefs in Law & Order. Speaking of Law & Order, there was a clip came up on YouTube. Who's the guy from... he's from Marriage Story. The famous actor. You would know... I'm going to say the name and you're going to go, oh, yeah. Fucking... What's his name?
Let's do some more research. Mid-podcast.
He's from one of the biggest... He's one of the biggest actors in the world.
Alan Alda.
No, the
Ray
young
Liotta.
bloke. Adam Driver.
Fuck, my fucking...
I'm talking about Adam Driver.
Oh, Adam Driver, yeah, I know him.
And it was like, the clip was called, did Adam Driver do it? And it was like, what? And you click on the Law and Order clip, and it's just Adam Driver from like 20 years ago on a random episode of Law and Order. And like, did he kill the girl? It's like, why are you clickbaiting Adam Driver? I guess like that, like if I was a YouTube channel, that's what I would do too. But it's just like, what? Adam Driver killed somebody? Did he commit a crime? But
that's like Logan Paul's been on Law and Order.
Has he?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Not joking.
What did he do in it? Did he...
He played it. He played the villain, the guy trying to shoot someone. Logan
Paul on Law and Order. No way.
Sorry. Halfway through your little...
He did.
I keep interrupting.
His name was Ryan. That's crazy. I didn't know that he was on Law and Order. How long ago was it? Like a while ago.
Long before his YouTube.
2015, so quite a long time ago.
H3 reacted to the Law and Order Gamers thing with Logan Paul in it, and they didn't know who Logan Paul was when they reacted to it. That's how long it was before his career started.
Shit, that's fucking a long time ago.
So he popped off at about end of 2016, sort of. He had 1 million subs at the end of 2016, and this was 2015. Right. Yeah.
Do you remember Justin Bieber being on CSI?
I don't remember Justin Bieber being on anything. I remember him in that movie, that Zoolander 2 movie. He had a cameo in that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I watched that in cinemas.
I just remember him from CSI because it was he played.
He's a little kid in it. What the fuck?
He played a serial bomber, and they just shot the fuck out of him at the end of it. It's pretty good.
Oh, they would have done that for everyone in humanity.
Oh, good, yeah. Everyone's like, kill the kid that everybody hates because he's. I don't know.
I think this would have been one of those bits where he tried out acting and realized he's not into it, so he didn't do it anymore. That's what all the parents and all the agents try and get there.
Like at all. Not many musicians can transfer into acting and be good.
Sure. I don't know if she was in
No.
anything.
Justin Timberlake did very well. I think he's quite a good actor.
I know Cher was in a fair few movies, actually.
Really?
Damn. Yeah, Mask,
Really?
Moonstruck, Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again.
You know, actually, a few wrestlers have like The Rock and Batista, who
Yeah,
are
The
Dwayne
Rock.
The Rock Johnson and
Oh,
Dave
you
Batista.
can't- You can never get enough of The Rock. Only fucking
No,
knows.
it's about pride. It's about power. We survive. We I don't know how the song goes. But there's a wrestler called Chyna, and she's dead now. That's okay. But she was in a movie called One Night in China. Can you Google that for me? China spelled Chyna. And just read me the Wikipedia definition.
China's film is a play on words as Laura wrestled in the World Wrestling Federation. I just lost my. I'm not reading the plot, man. There's no chance I'm reading the plot.
Read the plot.
It's a porno. You can read the plot.
No, it's not a very good movie in all honesty. She has sex with X-Pac, the greatest wrestler of all time.
Oh my god, bro.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. You
What
know,
the fuck?
all the greatest wrestlers have done porn. I
Well,
would do.
thanks for watching the Ennui Talk podcast.
Oh, come on. Would you do? Okay, if I was asked to do Playgirl, would you be okay with it?
Oh no, I wouldn't care about any of my mates. I've got a friend who did OnlyFans.
Really?
Yeah, one of my friends. She had an OnlyFans account. Everyone's like,
What is
"Oh,
it?
you should join it." I'm like, "No,
What
I'm
is
not
it?
looking at my friend naked."
What is it? Can you link it to me?
No, I'm not.
What is
I'm
it?
not gonna-
Hey, after the podcast, can you tell me?
Fucking creep, honestly. You fucking creepy motherfucker.
No. What I was gonna. No, look, I'm not an OnlyFans guy. I can just Google that for free.
You can't upload anything sexually explicit on it anymore, Matthew. I'll have you know.
Can't you?
I don't
Really?
think you can. I think
Oh,
they
okay.
got rid of sexually explicit stuff from
Oh, some of
upload
it.
fans. Upload only fans.
It's not funny, cunt.
Is that really fans? It's-
Before
it's
we
good-
finish
good
up,
joke. It's
have you
good-
ever heard of
it's good.
the YouTuber Bobby Burns?
I've heard of it.
So like back in the day, like he did a big video
Burns.
on Shane Dawson, and it was about Shane Dawson, like blah blah. And then he met Shane Dawson, was really good friends with him, and then Bobby moved out to LA, and then Bobby Burns stopped doing the content that he was like it was good YouTube content, like great commentary content. Started doing music, and it was like really bad. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't like complete like 180. And like he was dressed like very like emo-ish, and it was like some sort of like hip hop, not my sort of style. What would you call it? Bobby Burns music. It was not very like good. I could play one of his songs. Do you want to play one of his songs? I'll play one of his songs for you. It's very good.
No. No, you just play.
It's
While you're
very,
looking
very
for a
good.
song, another movie I have to recommend that I'm halfway through watching. It's Only If You Love Cinema and Filmmaking. I don't know if anyone could get into it if they didn't like love obsessed with filmmaking. It's Night on Earth by Maverick director Jim Jarmusch, as SBS described him as. So really, if you're someone who likes night driving, and if you're someone who just likes like a really well-made movie with really good characters, I'm halfway through watching it. It's a good movie. It's very film noir though, and it's a bit slow, but it's actually more than a bit slow. But if you can, I think it's something you watch in intervals. But yeah,
Interesting.
good movie.
Very
Maybe
interesting.
review it one day on we. So that's a tough one. If you can get through that,
that
I'd
is
be
a tough one.
impressed.
2
hours of a cab, being in a cab.
It's it's very much of an arty film, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It follows five people who are cab drivers, and them carrying patients in their cabs. Patients. It's good. It's a good movie.
Interesting. I might give it a watch actually, because I like that sort of like I've been like trying to like expand my mind, I guess we would call it something like that. Before we finish up, Bobby Burns. This is Bobby Burns' music.
Let's
It's
have a
really
listen.
good.
Will we get copyright claimed?
Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's not.
I'm just trying to stop it from getting copyright claimed. I
It's
think
not
that's garbage, to tell you the truth.
Well, like that's probably like one of his best ones, but then there's like
Oh, he is shithouse.
It's not that good, like at all.
I like Justin Bieber, and that's shithouse.
Anyway, Bobby Burns has not been doing
That's saying
much
something.
like YouTube content. Like he started uploading like random videos recently. I'm like, oh, let's look at his channel, and I clicked onto his Twitter, and I didn't read the description. And his description said, "This is the place where I promote my OnlyFans. If you want to see some safer work stuff, click on my other stuff." I'd missed that.
And there's a bloke.
Yeah, and like, you know what, do what you want, but like I scrolled down and it was him twerking, his dick and balls flapping around, and his arsehole just like out everywhere. And I'm like, I can't do this. That's good. Thanks for listening to the All We Talk podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Patreon. Omni Plus, we've got some good content coming out. Me and Caspar, every month, are doing a movie review, and we're doing our classic. I'm the host.
Doing movie reviews?
Yeah, well, you and I do a movie review as well, cunt. Okay, fuck me.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Me and Caspar doing the classic. I call it the Tim Dillon style, where it's me being funny, talking shit, and he'll go, "Oh yeah." That's basically the On We Talk Extra. So if that sounds appealing,
That's wicked.
I love you, Caspar. Do you subscribe to the Patreon still?
Yes. I watch them all when they come out a week early. And I watch all the Patreon stuff. I was watching them before the podcast, actually.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad. Anyway, we'll have some more stuff on the Patreon soon too. Behind the scenes, bonus stuff, early access all the time anyway. I've got nothing else to plug, unless you've got something.
Burger.
Very funny burger meme. Fucking dumb cunt.
That's it. Look at that.
Burger. Yeah, very fucking funny, you dumb piece of shit.